Hello everyone, today I want to give a brief lecture on Marx's theory of alienation. So, in his Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts of 1844, Karl Marx argues that what makes us human is our ability to work, our ability to self-consciously transform the world in order to better meet our needs. According to Marx, this work is an inherently creative and artistic process. We envision a different world that would be better for us, and we go out and we creatively make it happen. We make it real. It's also a liberating process. This work gives us a kind of power or a freedom over our circumstances. Our ability to, say, engage in agriculture gives us a kind of freedom and a safety that maybe a hunter-gatherer society does not have. And finally, this ability to work is social. It allows us to engage in social projects with other people and form social relationships that kind of become the essence of our human societies. So, in Marx's view, work ought to be this fundamental expression of who we are, an expression that is creative, artistic, liberating, and inherently social. Now, the problem is that most of the work that is done in a modern capitalist society, according to Marx, does not have these features. Most of the work that we engage in is what Marx would call alienated labor. And if work is supposed to be the essence of what we are, then the fact that we are consistently alienated from that essence would be a fundamental moral problem and a critique of the society in which we live. So, what is alienated labor? Well, according to Marx, when we go to work in our modern society, we tend to be alienated in four different ways. First off, we have the alienation from our labor power. Basically, when I go to work, I lose my power over my ability to work. I sell my labor power to someone else. So if I get a job as a waiter, I agree that when I go into work for 40 hours a week, someone else, my boss, in essence, gets to tell me what to do. For those 40 hours, my labor power does not belong to me, it belongs to someone else, and so I am alienated. A second form of alienation is what Marx calls alienation from the product of our labor. This happens when I lose connection and lose control with what I produce. So Marx is thinking of people who are working in factories. The goods that they produce, they never see them again. They never get to experience other people using them. And because of their incredibly low salaries, they're not going to be able to use them themselves. In other words, as soon as they produce something, that thing is gone out of their lives and they no longer have any kind of connection to it whatsoever. Third, we get alienation from what Marx calls our species being. According to Marx, one of the interesting things about human beings is, as we've seen, we have the ability to work together. We have the ability to engage in collective projects. When we're alienated from our species being, we lose that ability. We start thinking of ourselves much more as isolated individuals and not as part of a broader social group or social collective. And then finally, we have alienation from each other. Marx's argument is that the more we are working and being treated as mere means in Kant's terms, the more we are treated as just tools to get something done, the more we begin to treat other people that way as well. So pretty soon, when we engage with people in our lives, we're no longer engaging with them as moral subjects who we care about. We engage with them as individuals who are simply there to fulfill some kind of business or economic role. This would be the source of the phrase, it's not business, this would be the source of the phrase, it's not personal, it's business, right? In this setting, I'm not obligated to treat you as a moral person, a different set of rules apply. That would be an example of the alienation from each other that Marx talks about. So in Marx's view, work in a just society would be this rewarding, creative, artistic, social, and liberating process that allows us to become the people that we truly are. Instead, work has become this alienating process that in Marx's view actually impoverishes us. Now, why does this happen? In Marx's view, the source of alienation is private property. Marx's view is that what happens is as soon as property can be owned privately, then a small number of people end up owning all of the things that the rest of us need to survive. If I don't own what I need to survive, I don't own land to grow my own food, I don't own a home that I can live in, I have to trade with someone who does have that stuff. Well, since I don't own anything, the only thing I have of any value is my ability to work, my labor power, or the essence of who I am. So in Marx's view, once the goods that we need to survive can be owned by private individuals, the rest of us are in a position where we have to sell the only thing we have, our labor power, in order to survive. Once I have to sell my labor power, now I become alienated from my labor power, and all of these four kinds of alienation happen. So, in Marx's view, alienation is a fundamental problem in our society. It is caused by the existence of private property, at least for those basic necessities. And so the way to address it, the way to eliminate it for Marx, is to eliminate private property, to create a society where we together collectively own the things that we need in order to survive. And this is the idea that he further develops later on in his work as the theory of communism. But it all emanates from this basic theory of the ways in which we are alienated in